Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be with you today and to share our journey to employee ownership with you. Purcell is an award-winning practice of architects, master planners and heritage consultants operating across the UK and in Hong Kong and Australia. We've been in existence for 74 years and up until earlier this year have always been in the ownership of a selection of individuals. So the change to employee ownership has been a structural change for the company, the likes of which we haven't experienced before. Today we're presenting three perspectives on the transition to employee ownership. Firstly, that of one of the sellers, Mark Goldspink, our CEO, who as part of the transition is selling his stake in Purcell to the employees. Secondly, the perspective of the next generation of leadership, from Liz Smith, our new chairperson. And thirdly, from me, Alasdair Jones, a member of the newly established Board of Trustees. I'll now hand over to Mark, who will expand our story further.
Hi, I'm Mark Goldspink, and I'll start with a brief history of Purcell, which dates back to 1947, when our founder Donovan Purcell opened his first studio in Bury St Edmunds. It is from these origins that Purcell have continued to develop our core disciplines and expertise deeply rooted in our reputation for architectural conservation. Through the foresight and determination of team colleagues, we have gradually expanded from East Anglia throughout the UK and now extending into the Asia Pacific region. We are now proudly able to call ourselves the world's leading architectural heritage conservation experts. I personally joined the Norwich team in 1989 towards the end of my architectural university studies and benefited greatly from the wisdom and support of my Purcell colleagues, and becoming a partner in 1999 and CEO in 2002. During my 30 years at Purcell, I've experienced various fluctuations in ownership models and styles of leadership, which have provided me an insight that has helped to shape our future governance. During the period between 2016 and 2018, several of our then co-owners retired, leaving just myself and one other owner remaining. We were responsible for 250 people, and succession therefore became a hot topic to resolve. I am of the firm belief that I am only a steward of Purcell, and that the time of my stewardship has a shelf life. It fell to myself and the other remaining co-owner to consider plans for succession. We have an amazing team here, and we wanted to safeguard our ownership and independence in perpetuity, benefiting our employees and of course our clients. We were soon able to agree the principles of our plan. We had a very clear design not to sell Purcell externally. We wanted to leave a legacy for a new generation of owners, and we did not want our departure to put a financial strain on the working capital of the business. So I recall a meeting with our accountant in 2014 who opened my eyes to the possibility of employee ownership, and after some research and initial meetings with the EOA, it became apparent this would provide an ideal solution. The idea of creating an emotional engagement with our employees rather than purely trading for a financial result resonated with both of us and aligned with the existing and strong Purcell ethos. We started communicating our ideas with our team of partners at an away day in October 2016. At this stage, the model, direct, indirect or hybrid, was not yet understood, but the initial feedback was positive, so we pressed on with our research. Through attendance at EOA forums, we learned that the creation of a clear sense of purpose and a set of values, principles and beliefs would help unite us and inspire engagement in a common purpose. We took the decision to appoint a people director to join our board to refocus our outlook in a way that would bring clarity on our aspirations for all our staff, the future owners. Working with a group of volunteer employees, we firstly established our values and behaviours, which translate into day-to-day actions that set the expectations of how our team should operate and work. Secondly, we understood the importance of planning for the future and communicating objectives. So in 2018, we launched our collective ambition, a dual-purpose document that sets out our 5-year business plan, identifying our key principal objectives. It also provides a set of key performance indicators to which our trustees can refer and hold the main board to account. In addition, the Purcell Constitution was launched to explain how our culture is rooted in the philosophies created initially by Donovan Purcell. It also explains what is important to us in our evolving portfolio of work and how we have chosen to govern ourselves as an EO business. We consider that these 3 documents to be central to our identity and are the tools to guide decision making. With employers' commitment, we wanted to transform our mission and vision into reality. So in 2018, during the planning stages, we embarked on a regular series of roadshows. I've visited each of our studios, UK and overseas, and encouraged everyone to talk about their own personal aspirations for themselves and Purcell, and asked how hopes and desires could be realised. Through successive visits that continued every 6 months, we all understand that everyone has an important part and role to play in our organisation and the potential to contribute to the success of Purcell. Purcell's pathway to EO took some considerable time in comparisons to others. Of paramount importance was our desire for the transition to succeed. We set out our timetable that was regularly updated and shared with all colleagues to show commitment and progress. We set ourselves 3 important goals for transition: strong cash liquidity, a cultural shift, that's a mindset of ownership, and greater employee engagement in Purcell as a whole. We were on the brink of transition in May 2020, but decided to delay for a year due to the financial impact and instability caused by COVID. We felt it would be hugely unfair to transition as planned in a climate of such uncertainty. Our trustees refer to this as their bonus year, which Alasdair will talk about later. Our decision was explained to all staff via a webinar, and everyone was invited to ask questions. Feedback on this level of open communication was so positive that we have continued monthly live webinar broadcasts and Q&A sessions every month since. We firmly believe that the length of time and effort taken to realign our culture will pay off in the longer term, as we now have a team of happy employees who have bags of energy and high morale, whilst all speaking the same Purcell EO language. So when we finally transitioned to employee ownership in May 2021, we had the confidence that the baton of ownership would be handed over to a capable and committed collection of people. Our employee trust now owns 70% of the business, with the remaining 30% transferring over the next few years, so that the trust will eventually own 100%. So I'm now delighted to hand over to Liz Smith. Liz became chairperson on the date we became employee owned, and she will talk about the effect EO has had on the next generation of our leaders. Thanks very much. Have a good day.
Hi, I'm Liz Smith, an architect and chair of Purcell's board. I have a long personal history with Purcell, having first done school work experience in our practice's Canterbury studio. I then joined our main London office as a permanent member of staff in 2002 while I was completing my architectural training. I've remained at the practice ever since. Purcell has always been a business which I've found really inspirational to be a part of, and I've been very proud to work at for so many reasons. For the experts I've learned from, the outstanding quality of the award-winning projects we deliver, the incredible and significant buildings we're fortunate enough to work on. Perhaps most of all though, because of the strong team spirit that exists amongst all our colleagues, including those overseas in Australia and Hong Kong. I mention all of this because when the previous owners first spoke to me and other senior partners about employee ownership as a potential model for the future of Purcell at a practice away day in 2016, it immediately felt like a good fit for us. This was really for two key reasons, and actually these reasons have really shaped my objectives for continued successful leadership of the practice since our journey to EO began. Firstly, employee ownership has reinforced the collaborative approach which has always underpinned how we work. We are many voices who come together with enthusiasm to support each other in achieving collective success. We're a large international practice with 12 studios across the globe. Employee ownership, as well as the new regional leadership model we have developed for practice governance, has really helped leaders and people in local studios feel real ownership of their own area of the business, able to retain and develop individual local identities of their studio, whilst also contributing to a wider global practice success. Secondly, employee ownership is enabling a new generation of owners to find their voice and play an active role in leading our business. Our Collective Ambition business plan has defined clear objectives for future success in several key areas, from winning new work to achieving architectural excellence. We now have focus groups run by different architects in areas such as building information modelling, building sustainability and project management. And these groups enable staff at all levels to come together across the business, encouraging innovation, new ideas and broader ownership of our goals towards success. Our Collective Ambition business plan, our values and our constitution have been central to defining our identity and providing our focus in our journey to EO. As practice chair, I take time every day to reinforce and reiterate the key messages. This really helps engender the spirit of EO within our organisation. We recently undertook a survey to understand levels of engagement amongst staff following the transition to employee ownership, and I was so delighted that almost 90% of our people answered positively to the question, "I believe I can make a valuable contribution to the success of the practice," a significant increase on previous survey results. When our founder established Purcell in 1947, he can hardly have imagined how his fledgling architectural practice would evolve. More than 70 years later, Purcell has developed into a global team of architects and heritage leaders who now collectively focus the unique mix of skills to deliver architectural projects and run a successful business. In this brave new world of employee ownership, the collaborative spirit that unifies and inspires us all is stronger than ever. I'm delighted to see the pride I have always felt in our business, now shared by a broad group of new owners and future leaders. I will now hand over to Alasdair, who has become one of our new trustees, to talk about his experience in helping shape our employee trust. Thank you.
So Mark and Liz have explained the process of exploring employee ownership and how this journey started to be shared with the practice leadership and the employees more widely. During those initial years of exploration from 2016 to 2017, some small but important cultural shifts started to develop within the practice. As Mark mentioned, our first people director was appointed in 2017 with a clear focus on employee engagement and helping establish the influence and voice of employees as potential future owners. One of the products of this was the establishment of Purcell Voice, Purcell's first employee forum. We launched Purcell Voice in 2018 with the intention of providing a clear means of communication between the employees and the board, raising issues of concern or suggestions for improvement. Purcell Voice had representation from each of our studios and was perhaps a little unwieldy in terms of size to begin with, but the following years have seen a steady refining of Purcell Voice to help it become as effective a vehicle as it can be. I chaired the initial Purcell Voice and was followed by one of my fellow current trustees, Emma. And it was made clear from the outset of Purcell Voice that EO was being explored and that future trustees would need to be appointed, for which Purcell Voice reps would potentially make good candidates. This theme of early engagement with the idea of EO, not just by the board but throughout the company, has been very important to us. Opportunities were made for employees to engage with the idea of employee ownership early on in the process to ensure as wide an understanding and engagement with EO within the organisation as possible. These came through the roadshows that Mark mentioned, but also through engagement with the EOA as well. I remember attending the EOA conference in 2018, 3 years before our transition, and having the opportunity to immerse myself fully in the questions and considerations involved with any future transition process. And as such, when the call for candidates to be trustees came, I and others felt informed and prepared to apply for the role. And we were delighted to see numerous applications from each of the 5 geographic regions covered by Purcell. After an interview process that was conducted by the board but separately from Mark and Andy, the outgoing owners, we established our first board of trustees consisting of 5 regional trustees, a chair and our external trustee, Sue Lawrence, who has been a great help as we have found our feet in the role. The Trust have just finalised our process for the selection of new trustees at the end of the initial trustees role. So come May 2020, we were all ready to transition to employee ownership. The Trust was appointed, the paperwork was nearly all in place, and we were ready to jump into this new chapter in Purcell's history. But as we all know, COVID landed, and I vividly recall the days when I got phone calls from the construction sites I was overseeing saying that they were shutting their sites, and all of a sudden our projected pipeline of work and the financial projections which underpin the company valuation had question marks over them. So after a concentrated period of consideration, we agreed to defer the transition to EO by 1 year. This would allow energy and attention to be given to tackling the unprecedented situation we suddenly found ourselves in, and would allow us to work towards returning the balance sheet back to its pre-COVID state, and giving us confidence that we were buying a sustainable and healthy company for the right price, as Mark alluded to. The following year became known to us as the bonus year, and on reflection has been of great benefit to us as trustees. It has allowed us effectively to have an initial dry run as trustees, establishing our meeting structures and reporting, identifying additional training needs, and establishing the nature of the relationship between the company board and the Trust. While it was disappointing to have to delay the transition that we had all worked so hard to achieve, it undoubtedly brought great benefits which have served to strengthen the Trust and the company as a whole. So to finish, I would like to answer the question of why become a trustee. Perhaps you're watching today and your organisation is on the verge of transition and you're considering applying for that role perhaps. During our bonus year and the 6 months since our transition, I've found the role a really enjoyable and stimulating one. As a trustee, you get a close-up look at the way in which the company operates, the factors and considerations that go into the high-level decision-making which affect the whole company. And as such, I've gained a greater understanding of the role of others, particularly the board, within the company, the nature and perspectives of the different regions within our company, and how we can tie together our diverse and wide-ranging company to achieve our goals. So if you are considering the role today, can I very much encourage you to take it up. Thank you for watching.